It's time for Rand Gen Maps. This is a chat with the IKM, who has created an algorithm which will generate completely random maps that you can play Terra Mystica on, that are to some degree kind of balanced and work with this algorithm. And it's now available on Board Game Arena on the mainstream Terra Mystica release. You can go on there, you can pick a river hex layout, whether you like base map river hex layout, fire and ice, fjords, and it will put you into a game with a fully randomized map, so fresh map every time. And this is really cool, and here we are going to talk to him about how that works and what you can do with it. I'm currently in the tournament that he set up, playing away on a turn-based game on a map, on a... was it base map? I think it's base map. And I've got a game going on a fjords random map. Super interesting. It's a really cool thing. I really love RKM's attitude of doing these things. He kind of just goes for it, creates these things. Really good stuff. Had the pleasure of meeting him in Canada last year to play a ludicrous game of Terra Mystica with, how many players was it? I think it was 8 players we had on a single game of Terra Mystica. So he likes doing these fun, interesting things. Me, if I was to choose a flavour of ice cream, I like vanilla ice cream. But sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of sauce, maybe a little bit of maple syrup on your vanilla ice cream, a few sprinkles. And variable maps is a really cool way of adding a little bit of variety to your Terra Mystica without needing to learn any new rules or new factions or anything like that. So this is a really cool thing he's done. Here we go. This is me, EJ, talking to the RKM about his Rand Gen map algorithm. Are you well?
I'm fine, yes.
It's big news. Rand Gen maps are available out of beta.
Yes, so yeah, I have been in contact with Feuerland for some months, and I told them where we unlocked the random maps, the random generated maps for friendly mode, and as I think there were no bugs or anything, which wasn't to be expected actually, I was asking them if we can unlock them for normal mode as well, which makes, for example, tournaments in random generated maps possible. And they just asked me for the allowance to do it. And by now, I think yesterday they unlocked it.
And I tried it earlier. I went on and it's available as a normal option. I generated a little random map. It was like green hexes in the center island. It was less good for brown, I think, when I saw it. It looked a bit tricky for brown. So yeah, it's great stuff. Congratulations, man. You've worked very hard on this. So this is, a real achievement.
Yeah, it's really, it's kind of, I think it's maybe it has come to an end, this project now, because it's, I don't know, it's it's officially on Board Game Arena now and usable for everything, which is cool. I mean, theoretically, there could be, I don't know, a physical implementation, but I guess that's quite complicated. I mean, well, you just need the terraforming hexes, maybe make them hexagons, and then you lay them on top of the Terra Mystica board, just like you play Settlers of Catan. But then you would theoretically need I don't know, a rule book with a lot of alternative maps, or I don't know, or you have to tell the people who buy it that they have to get these maps from internet, but then it's not quite physical. It's I don't know. it's tricky, I guess.
Let's can we sort of work the story back a little bit and kind of go back to the beginning? So first of all, I would say where we previously spoke about the ludicrous Terra Mystica, and then subsequently we had a chance to play it in Canada at the first Terra Mysticon, which was very fun. And
It was cool.
you've still been cracking on with that. And so I would say, I guess, would it be fair to say that you like the wackier, the crazier, the more adventurous Terra Mystica settings? Is that like your way of thinking about it?
Uh, I think that's an overgeneralization because somehow I'm not so much into the fan factions. I believe it's mainly a thing that. So I have been playing a lot of Terra Mystica till, yeah, actually until the pandemic, and then it broke down a bit. And up to this point, everything that was published before the pandemic, I was very in favor of.
So I guess that's where then you can see that there's another kind of, I mean, it was explored with maps like fjords and lakes and stuff, but there's that whole other way of adding variability and replayability to the game on the map design, where you can play with the
Yeah.
same factions, but you can change the game with the maps. So is that what inspired you to think about changing map design in this way?
Mm, I think I've mostly thought about getting new maps as the most desirable thing in the game because so I have taught the game to many people to build up my local community, and whenever we have expansions are very cool, but these are always extra rules. You have to explain them, and a map is just something new that gives you new playstyle, but you don't have to explain anything. It's basically, yeah, I mean, you can play, when you play the first time, it doesn't matter if you, uh, what map you play. And so, yeah, this is why I think maps are kind of the best in adding variability without adding any complexity at all, actually.
I'm not going to stress the chaos point too much, but when we did play Ludicrous Terra Mystica, we had no. How many did we have? It would have been 8 people playing on the same Terra Mystica game at the same time, and we chose faction pick order by playing. What's the game where we threw priests on the
Oh,
floor to
yeah.
see who got the closest to the line. And I think you were loving it, and I think you liked the chaos of that, and I liked the chaos of that. That was good fun.
Well, I mean, I do this system because when we play these ludicrous games, there are sometimes newer players who haven't played that much, and I think an auction would be way too much for them. Well, by now our community is kind of in a way that you could somehow reasonable make an auction, but I don't know. So basically, it's a thing to have some very very quick game that just gives a player order. Yeah.
So let's talk about the random map generation and sort of what it does and how it works. So there's a really great video where you explain in some really nice detail about how the algorithm works. So we don't need to go into that much detail. I would encourage everybody to watch the video just because it's really cool to see how you've like done this thing and how it's implemented. But broadly, what it achieves is that you give it a layout of river hexes. So you can like give any river hexes to the algorithm, and then you designate what a land hex is, and the algorithm will generate with certain parameters a kind of like a random, but with to the algorithm assortment of hexes for a like a good, fairly well balanced game of Terra Mystica. Is that correct?
Yes. So yeah, so this is what it's intended to be, and most people say that the maps it does are quite good.
And is this something that you developed on your own or with other people? Like who's been involved in this kind of development process?
I would say it was basically on my own, but I have influences from many sources. I mean, I was thinking about it, and I think the first thing I encountered random generated maps was actually on this TMAI site where you can play against AI, and there you can play on random generated maps. But I've read comments about it that they are not really good, and I also tested some of them. I actually printed, I think, two of them, and when we played them, I figured out that they have the problem with them is that expansion is way too easy. And then I was taking that idea and I thought, well, I'm not just saying uh, it's adjacent or it's not adjacent, but I'm actually looking at a distance and see how far away is the next yellow hex. And the farther away it is, the likelier the next yellow hex appears. So yeah, I was abstracting this. And with this, I have some sort of, uh, some sort of a formula that based on which it is decided whether this hex becomes yellow or red or whatever. And the good thing about the formula is that I know the formula, I know how it works, and if I see problems, I can change the formula, and hopefully the maps become better. And with this explainability, I am able to, whenever there's like a critique, then I am able to work on that, which wouldn't be able if you had some sort of fancy, I don't know, neural network or particle swarm thing, which I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it's not explainable, and if they do bad maps, there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, your algorithm is kind of quite simple in its it's very smart in its simplicity, and you call it the snail algorithm. So you start in the middle, and to the first hex, do you just randomly assign a color to the first hex?
Yeah, the first text is completely random. Yes. This is every color has 1 out of 7 chance.
And then it works around in concentric circles spiraling out, and it's a simple score with 3 factors in, I think. Yeah, like you said, looking at how close is it to a hex of this similar color, how many hexes of that color are there overall, and then it is probabilistic, so you just generate a random number, right, to pick in the end, but the probabilities are weighted so that it should become fair. Which is yeah, it's really cool. I love how you've kind of thought about those numbers and assigned the scores, but then there is that element of randomness, so it will always generate a different map every time. So is your background in? Are you like a programmer by trade? Is your background in this kind of thing, or is this just a like a something else to what you have experience in?
Well, I'm a mathematician and I'm sometimes thinking about, I don't know, modeling things. Uh, but I have to say that um, I mean the the algorithm that I present in the video, it's very simplistic, but it's very the just the tip of the whole glacier. It's actually so this was basically the oldest version, which was very simple, and the maps were quite good according to some people who tested it, or I think they said something like that. Like it's the best random generated maps we had till now. And the good thing is, yeah, I knew the formula and I could change it, and I changed it, and it has become a lot more complicated by now. Um Back then, there was only these factors like distance to the next hex of same color, and I'm not even sure if I had the argument of how many yellow hexes are already there. So this is another
That is in
vector.
there. That is in the video.
This is in. Okay, but I also added river access. So if a color has good access to water, then it's also nerfed, or if it has little access, then it's buffed. And then there's also the luck, or maybe you can think about it as a karma. Whenever whenever a color wins a hex, which is always to some degree random, then it has to pay for that with its karma. And when color's karma is low, its chances are nerfed in the progresses. And if its karma is high, then it has better chances. So yeah, so by now I have 4 factors, and I also there's a lot of depth also in this distance value, which measures the distance to the next yellow hex or red hex. And here it comes into play some of the faction abilities. So for example, for yellow, because nomads have sandstorm and fakirs can fly, for them it's not so hard if there's a blue hex which costs 3 digs, but they don't care as much. And I have put things like that into consideration. And so it's not the same formula for yellow as it is for red and for other colors. And I also gave, like, some colors just get very straight buffs and straight nerfs. Yeah, so there's a lot more depth than the video tells about it, but the video tells when you understand the video, you understand basically the algorithm, but it doesn't tell you the details.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I wanted to ask about faction specific things. So on the color front, is that just like you're buffing red and green because red and green factions are generally weaker than brown and black? Is it that kind of thing?
Uh, yeah, yeah, kind of, but it's also honestly, I'm not sure if I'm nerfing. Wait, I'm buffing green, that's for sure. Green is the most buffed color in the random generation algorithm. I think red is actually nerfed, I believe. If I remember correctly. I think the original maps, like base map, I think base map is very red hostile. Um, and I think this is why we we sometimes underestimate how strong the red factions are on their own. I mean, I think on the base map there's no single path between two red hexes that is only one tile in between. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And so you are and like you said, you are thinking for fakirs and for dwarves, you're thinking about their slightly different method of connecting for yellow and for grey factions.
Yes, I do. Actually, I think I haven't really made anything with fakirs. I think I only cared about the sandstorm, and I think fakirs were mostly fine.
Okay, interesting. And yeah, it's really interesting what you were saying about this being an algorithm that you've developed and and is relatively simple, so you can change it in a world where everything is moving more towards black box neural net algorithms that you can't do those kind of things. There was some chat on the forums earlier about the paper from way back in the day where they had used, I think, was it a neural net approach to generate maps, and how maybe the results of that weren't as good as what you're achieving now with your algorithm.
Yeah, so I've read this paper, and I have to say that I think maybe they could have done better, because I think the priorities that they took were a bit off. Because, so for example, I think they made something like 4 conditions what the maps, based on which the maps are evaluated, and one of them is like very a very important one, like you shouldn't have 2 hexes of same color adjacent. But they had another one where they said there should only be one coherent river on the map. And I think it was completely equal, like these 2 evaluations. So having 2 separate rivers is as bad as having 2 adjacent colors, hexes of same color, if I remember correctly. But so I think if they thought really a bit more what they could, how they could make the goals, like the evaluations of the maps, more better priorities, maybe they could
Yeah.
actually make reasonable results. But then they still have the issue that because it's not really explainable, they will not be able to tune it in a way like I did it.
Yeah, it's fantastic work. And like, so then running this thing, how do you run it? And do you know how it's being run? Do you just have a simple script that you run, and then is it being implemented with the same script on Board Game Arena now? Or do you know how Ransfont has managed to integrate it into the online Terra Mystica implementation?
So I have implemented it in Python. I run the script, and I created TXT files, which I used for playing when, so just using custom map, and then I have to upload it when the game starts. In order to implement it like on Board Game Arena with Rinsvent, I had to translate the code to PHP.
Okay, so you you run in Python, and then it's PHP running on the system, and then Ransfont, the legend that he is, could then integrate that into the Board Game Arena implementation. So yeah, just to make it clear to everyone, it's up there. You can use it. Is it true that it uses the base map river landmass?
If you select random generated map, then it opens another option where you can select the river layout, and there you can choose between original, fjords, fire and ice, loon lakes, and random. Random is random 1 out of the 4.
Oh, I did not notice that earlier when I tried it. I see. So I could have. Right. So if I go. Right. Yeah. Game board randomly generated by RKM, river template, base game, fire and ice forwards, random. And that means, is there no longer an option? Oh, no, no. So if you then choose custom maps, that is where you can still input your own river hex layout if you want to try your own custom river hexes, correct?
Yeah, that's true. I was also like, I don't know if enough people want it. Maybe we can also allow that you select random generated and upload a river template and play on a custom river layout. I mean, that's probably still doable. I don't know. Uh, but for now, we left it out. I don't know how big is the demand for having that.
So you can find RKM if you go on the Terra Mystica Tuesday League Discord server, and you can search for. Although your username is, what's your your username is funny now, is it? It's got some Korean character at the front. But if you search the RKM, you come up, and you can talk about it. And yeah, there's now a whole world of like infinitely different Terra Mystica maps that you can play, and you can play them with the base factions, or you can play them with the whole host of different faction combinations we have available, which is fantastic. One thing that was also being discussed recently, and I think there's nothing. I don't think there's anything definite on this for now, maybe, but it raises the chance or the option to kind of try out different factions, so say base game factions, with, I guess, maybe a level playing field isn't the right word, but with a variable playing field where, we know that, for example, base map advantages green in certain ways, and brown is very strong on base map. Red is difficult, but we can start to gather some more data, perhaps, about the strength of factions in the abstract. Although there are limitations to that. What do you think about that aspect of this side of the random maps? Do you think that that is an area that you're interested to pursue with the data that you get from results?
Yeah, I mean, you can use it, but I think there is. So while all the random generated maps are different, of course, I think they have really some characteristics that they have kind of in common, and that um, they separate them from the original maps. And something that seems very significant to people who've played many games on random generated maps is that you notice the hostileness. As I said, we have this distance value. A map, like a color, is the more likely to appear on a hex the farther away the next hex of the same color is, which makes the maps quite hostile. So you usually need more digs than you would need on the original maps. Uh, and that, for example, means that advancing digs becomes a lot more common on these maps. Um, so there's really some patterns that are very obvious, I think. Yeah, but other than that, uh, yes, of course. What was the question? If we can evaluate affection strength better without the context of certain maps, right? That was the question.
Yeah, that's my question. And I don't know, well, I don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking. What do you think about that aspect of it?
Of course, it gives more variety of data, uh, but I mean, as we also said, like the random generator, he's not neutral. He's not treating all the colors equal. Some colors get
Mm,
straight advantages, and some people might not realize that. I can say it now. Actually, the yellow factions are clearly the strongest. And the green factions, as you all kind of guessed right, are the worst factions. So because like if the map generation was neutral, um, we have quite good indications that yellow would quite dominate and green would be garbage, because yellow is already the most nerfed color by the algorithm, and still nomads are the strongest faction. You can find other reasons for that, and I think there are good arguments to argue, well, maybe you have to think about this or that, and but like looking at the data, it seems quite obvious. And yeah, and green has helped a lot, but still they are struggling a lot. Um,
and are you taking numbers post auction when people are playing post auction there, or is that you're seeing yellow win the game more often? Is because there's a slight difference there.
yeah, if you want good data, you should ignore the auction, I think, and just look at auction without, like, victory points scored without auction, or perhaps placement without auction, but I think that's a bit strange. But I had a discussion yesterday on the Discord, and I believe actually that the scored victory points correlate very, very well with who wins, because I think the auction gaps are usually relatively small compared to what gaps you have in the end. But yeah, of course, if you want to make a data analysis, I really would recommend try to filter out the auction. I don't know. You could probably discuss very long about this.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's clearly an element where because you've been developing this algorithm, you've kind of got. I think just from having done that, you and looking at the results as they come in from people playing these games, you've now inherently got an interesting feel for how factions perform, and like you've got an insight there from having kind of seen those games. So that's another way that people can, if people want to study the factions abstracted from any particular map using randomly generated maps, I think is a good way to do that, perhaps. So that's what it is. It's there. It's working. What do you want to see now with this? Are you looking for just people to play it and have fun? Do you want it to? Do you want tournaments? What do you want to happen to the rand gen maps now?
Well, good question. So I try to engage people, and now I think when it became an official option in normal mode, it's a good time to finally start like an automated tournament. Yeah, so I plan to launch a tournament quite soon. Other than that, what do I want? I mean, I will use it every year for the Weltmeisterpokal. Um, and I mean, this year it was quite cool. We were able to let the winner of last year draw a river template. And just color that with the algorithm and play this map, which was really cool.
Just to be clear, Weltmeisterpokal, am I pronouncing that right, is your
Yes.
ludicrous game of Terra Mystica that you have every year in Germany.
Yeah, true. So we gather like 10 players. This year we were even 11. Uh,
For a single big game of Terra Mystica.
true. I don't know. Currently, I don't have that many plans, but I launch a tournament and so more people learn about it. Uh, and I will see what happens.
And so, are you? I know you'll be thinking. I'm sure you'll have ideas. Are you still thinking about like developing the algorithm, or are you now thinking of some other like something else that you can do with an addition to Terra Mystica or bending Terra Mystica in some way or another?
Actually, neither, but I don't know. I would probably further develop the algorithm if people really asked for. I mean, if it happens in the way that people actually play it more, I think there will be more discussions about it and maybe even more feedback. I might, yeah, I might change the code again, but the current thing is really good. I could mention it's kind of the fourth version.
Of the like this is V4 of the algorithm as you've been developing it.
Yeah. Or if you count from one, I don't know if how you usually do it.
Yeah. From one. I'm not a developer, so I count from one.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the how it's usually done.
Which actually that does come to mind. So, like, when did you first like? When was V1? When did you start developing this? How long have you been looking at this and developing it?
um it was last year in June. Um I think it was the 17th or something like that. It's saved in my calendar when I posted the first random generated maps, and I will remember that day every year. I also put a message in the Discord this year that today is the first birthday, and I like to remember these days. I think Terra Mysticon had some influence on that. I was thinking about, well, I'm going to this big event and it's on another continent, and I have had this idea about a map generator that works in a way that it assigns colors with probability that rises when the color is far away. And then one weekend I went ahead and just wrote a code and generated some maps and and just posted them in the Discord. Uh, yeah, and there we went, and I got some. It was very critical that I got support by people like Xevok and by I think Xevok was the first who just wrote "Let's play a game," and but other people helped me a lot. Lena and Stahlbrötchen. I'm forgetting a lot of people now, but uh, I could mention a lot of more people.
Fantastic. It's been like it's good to talk to you again after after over a year since we talked in Montreal. Was there anything else you wanted to add about this, or have we covered everything off?
Well, probably we didn't cover everything. Like after the our last podcast about the Weltmeisterpokal, there was later coming a lot of things that I forgot, and it will be the same today, but that's how it is.
Hey, well, if anybody wants to know any more, they can find you on Discord, search for the RKM, or on. Have you posted it on the Board Game Arena forums, by the way?
No, I didn't.
You should post it on there. Or
Okay, then I will do it. But it's interesting. I just wrote my first. I kind of discovered the Board Game Arena forums yesterday. So, but yeah, I should post there. I should post everywhere, basically.
yeah, post it around because people will see it who are like just on Board Game Arena, and maybe I don't know. It might be worth Ransfont might do a little post because he can push a. If you post on the forums, he can push a post to everyone, the group that play Terra Mystica, and then it comes up on their home feed on the website that this thing is new and available. So that might be worth doing.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it came into my mind. I don't know if it's a thing. I was thinking about making an Instagram account with a bot that posts a random generated map every day.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like a cool maps club instead of a cool towns club. You could have a cool maps club.
Yeah. I don't know if they are that cool. They are just. I mean, they are maps. Every map is cool as long as it's balanced.
Every
I
map
don't
is
know.
cool as long as it's
Yeah,
balanced. I like that.
but we could actually say that like my maps are not necessarily always balanced because um not all, I mean everywhere, because like the I have a formula that gives probabilities, and but it's still random. So if there's a hex and we would think, well, it would be legal to put red here, but it would be so OP. But if it's not illegal, there's at least something like a 1 out of 100 chance probably, and it can happen that the hex actually becomes red. But that's kind of funny, I think, that it can
Yeah, yeah.
happen, and
I,
it will also
I,
cost the red a lot of karma in the process that they cannot, so they are nerfed from there.
yeah, I really like that about the algorithm. That it's like, is so you're telling me there's a chance that you'll just get that like perfect hex for one color that connects everything. But yeah, then
Yeah.
The karma, I love the karma aspect of it. It's like, okay, you've had your lucky break, Red. Now you're never getting lucky again for the rest of the algorithm.
Yeah, but the problem I think is when the karma is ruined so much. Or am I wrong? Wait, so it may happen that the algorithm just won't give red more hexes, and in the end it notices, well, I have to give it 2 more hexes, and it doesn't fit, and then it might just. Uh, so in the end, I've added some final tests that it has to pass in order to be a map, and I think if we have some situation where this I don't know, where red gets this perfect hex, which is, I don't know, 1 river hex away from 3 other reds or so, then it's very likely that it won't go through the tests. I don't know.
Yeah, nice, nice. It's good. It's really interesting. Um, cool. Well, thanks for talking. I'll get this up. Then we'll get the tournament going and sign me up. I'll be in the tournament.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Um, it's going to be a multiplayer elimination, by the way, because I want to start light with just one game at a time.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay.
And it's also an option people can, in Terra Mystica Tuesday League, if and when it happens again, people can, if by unanimous decision, they can put it into their games because you can put in whatever you want as long as everyone in the league agrees. So that's an option there. So yeah, yeah.
So it's vetoable still. So
It would be, I would need to think it through. I haven't thought about it
okay.
much. I think initially it would still be vetoable, at least for one
Yeah.
season, and would
I'm not
see.
pushing you into an announcement now. I was just asking if this was an announcement or if, but then if it's not, it's not no news for me. Okay.
It's no news. It's no news. It's the
Okay.
same for sure, but maybe I'll have a think. I would definitely consider pushing it a bit more. The same as I'm considering whether like fan factions should be. Yeah, you've got to move with the times. You got to move with the times.
Yeah, true. But sometimes it's also good to stop the movement to conserve and like yeah, when you move with the time, you're also accelerating the time. And if you don't go, maybe you're breaking it, and which can also be good sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The time, yeah, like the world nowadays. I don't know if change is good or bad or what's going on.
Yeah, just look at the thing and decide if it's good, then the change is good. If it's not good, then it should stay as it is. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know either. Hey, man, it's really good to talk to you. Thanks for discussing. Yeah, it's been good fun to chat.
Yeah. Okay, cool.